How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. Hope you guys had a great weekend watching some playoff football. Of course, the Eagles winning makes our hearts sink. However, there's some really good games. And tonight, we get the Rams and, of course, the Vikings. It's going to be a really good one. But I want to talk about Ben Rice today, the first base situation for the Yankees, and why we think Ben Rice's kind of alignment in this. I don't think they're going to platoon Rice and Paul Goldschmidt, but if there's anyone that you'd want Ben Rice to be learning behind and kind of gathering and absorbing this information, how to be a true pro, how to approach an MLB game or an MLB situation, improving your footwork, glove work, obviously, discipline at the plate, there may not be a better mentor than Paul Goldschmidt. He said a couple weeks ago, hey, I'm open to mentoring anyone. I don't care if it's Ben Rice. I don't care if it's anyone young on this team. So that's a really good sign for the Yankees. And I think it actually may have been a talking point because it sounded like it wasn't the first time he was asked that question, right? It sounded like he kind of had already been asked that from the Yankees. Like, are you open to being a mentor for some of our younger talent? Like, this is a situation where we have a lot of young guys, and we are trying to help them get to the next level. You're a former MVP winner. You have some of the best longevity in baseball in terms of this guy just stays healthy. Paul Goldschmidt, knock on wood, is a healthy guy every single year. And, Ben Rice can learn a lot from that. Ben Rice has been pretty healthy his career as well. But that longevity, that stamina is so important to being consistent. We've seen players like even Jason Dominguez have situations where he gets hurt and he's red hot and it sets him back months. Being healthy is how you get better, is how you get consistent reps, how you develop. And I'm excited about Ben Rice's development this year, even if he doesn't play a lot, or if he's a platoon kind of guy. I don't know how they'll operate. But Ryan, why are you excited about him? I know you love his underlying metrics. The power is there. Yankee Stadium is the perfect fit for Ben Rice. They really want and need him to develop into a long-term starter because pre-arbitration money at first base for Ben Rice over the next couple years, it opens up the door to spending big on Kyle Tucker and just reallocating that money a little bit more strategically.
Yeah, and when you look at what Ben Rice does, and when I mention underlying metrics, the process, how does this guy go about hitting? What is his approach? That stuff matters to me. Pure results aren't always what I'm evaluating the most or what I'm valuing the most. When you look at his ability to generate damage contact, which we can measure in damage rate, a metric that's available on Robert Orr of Baseball Prospectus on his website. It's the realistmuto.shinyapps.io/damage. 80th percentile in terms of damage rate. That's really good. 66th percentile in 90th percentile exit velocity, which means he's generating high exit velocities and he's doing it consistently. 66th percentile in pulled fly ball rate. So when he pulls the ball in the air, when he gets the ball in the air, he's usually pulling it. He was in the 88th percentile in Seager. Seager is a swing decision metric. It measures how often you're swinging in zone compared to pitches out of zone. It's a very important metric to look at. He was in the 67th percentile in zone contact rate. That means he was making contact on pitches in zone more often than most hitters. And he was in the 55th percentile in terms of contact rate versus non-fastballs. So changeups, sliders, curveballs, sweepers, any type of breaking ball off-speed pitch, just anything that isn't a fastball. So Ben Rice did a really good job of making contact compared to the league average. He was roughly average in terms of overall contact rates, but he really didn't have a struggle against breaking balls or breaking pitches. He made really good swing decisions. He was patient in zone. He attacked his pitch. Attacked his pitch in zone. He was patient on pitches. He didn't chase out of zone. He has good raw power. It felt like at times his swing fell apart a little bit, and that his mechanics maybe or his consistency at the plate wasn't there. But Ben Rice's upside is enormous, and some of the key indicators of a player who's underperforming their underlying metrics can be measured in batting average on balls in play. Now, a low batting average on balls in play doesn't always mean you're unlucky. Some guys are just prone to running lower bat pips. They don't hit the ball hard enough. They hit the ball in the air at an extreme rate. Balls in the air have high slugging percentages, but don't have very high batting averages. A low line drive rate can cause that as well. Ben Rice had a 186 batting average on balls in play, despite having a 20.2% line drive rate, a 44% fly ball rate, a low 35.8% ground ball rate, a good barrel rate, a 90-mile-per-hour exit velocity, so he was hitting the ball hard and in the air. There is no reason why he should have had a 186 BABIP. His BABIP, which, most projections have it in that 260 range, that's why they're giving him the projection of a 111 to 114 WRC plus, because they project his BABIP to be, below average for a major leaguer, but roughly league average for a left-handed hitter playing at Yankee Stadium, which hovers around 265 to 270. So he's a guy who has big-time power. This is a guy who has the ability to be, in my opinion, an above-average hitter at the major league level. He serves to me as a good insurance option if Stanton goes down, if Goldschmidt goes down, because you can have either A, Rice DH and Goldschmidt stay at first, or if Goldschmidt goes down, you can have Goldschmidt. Obviously he wouldn't be in the lineup. Rice would be in the lineup playing first. The Yankees need to give him the opportunity to play if the opportunity arises. But in Ben Rice's case, what can he do to stay prepared? What can he do to be, next guy up? Because we saw what it did for Luisio last year. He was next guy up. He was optioned basically 5 days into spring training, the game's actually being played. So he was the guy who stayed ready, who stayed prepared, who stayed sharp, got his chance, and never looked back. Clark Schmidt, another guy who wasn't really projected to make the rotation in 2023, and so a slew of injuries opened up spots for himself. And he didn't take it and run with it in 2023, but in the second half, he showed signs, earned a rotation spot for 24, really showed up and showed out in 24. You have to be patient with young players. You have to be patient with players who don't have a lot of professional or major league experience. Ben Rice got 50 games of work last year. He showed signs of being a productive major league hitter. Now in 2025, it's about waiting for the opportunity, and when you get it, capitalizing and cementing yourself as a starter on this team every single day.
Absolutely. I mean, for Ben Rice, what he means to the Yankees long term, listen, we've seen the power. His swing is nice. He's got some decent plate discipline. Of course, he was a rookie last year, so you're going to see those hiccups. You're going to see those inconsistencies, especially with a guy that was not highly graded basically throughout his entire minor league process. But he's got good size, 6'1", 215. He's only 25. If the Yankees, look, $12.5 million allocated to Paul Goldschmidt, it's a nice chunk of change, but it's nothing crazy. I mean, we're paying Rizzo 17. I do think that looking at Ben Rice's future, what do you think he can learn from a guy like Goldschmidt? The financial reward is there. We know that if Ben Rice is long-term, the starting infielder, starting first baseman, Anthony Volpe's still in arbitration at this point. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm has one more year of arbitration until he's a free agent in 2027. What does it mean to have arbitration guys at almost every infield spot? What does it mean to have that type of financial flexibility? Assuming Cody Bellinger capitalizes on Yankee Stadium and you have $26.6 million luxury tax money coming off the books. Devin Williams is a free agent. Paul Goldschmidt is a free agent. I mean, of course, we'd love to bring back some of these guys, but that level of financial flexibility in 2026, how do you think that impacts the team? This team kind of went the patchwork method here. It wasn't we're locking in all these guys on long-term contracts. A lot of our moves were patchwork solutions, 1-year deals for the most part. Do you think that's it's kind of a loaded question. Do you think it's a risky play to have a lot of 1-year deals? But with that being said, the financial flexibility that it does offer you, and I'll keep mentioning guys like Kyle Tucker because that's the marquee free agent next year in the outfield. Do you think that the Yankees are kind of going this direction, starting to develop Ben Rice, going with 1-year solutions? Do you think this is a way to set themselves up to be legitimate competitors for a guy like Kyle Tucker in next year's free agency?
I actually think it's a very interesting question because I think there are a lot of reasons why the Yankees have gone with a roster that will have a lot of turnover in 2025, regardless of if they have success or failure. Number one, I just don't think this free agent class had the quality of talent outside of Juan Soto that the Yankees were willing to aggressively shop and hunt for guys and give them multi-year deals. I think the Yankees had a lot of question marks about paying Christian Walker for 3 years with his age. I didn't really harbor the same question marks. I would have liked to go after him, but that's, neither here nor there. Maybe they felt a little better about investing in Fried. They liked the talent that is Max Fried. They never really seemed interested in kicking tires on Alex Bregman. They never, not that they never tried, but that it doesn't seem like they were ever seriously in on him. It doesn't seem like there were a lot of free agents. The one guy who I think they would have on the position player side of the ball made an aggressive offer to was Willie Adames, who signed pretty early in his free agency. He signed so early that he signed before Juan Soto made a decision on his team. So I do think a lot of this is the Yankees not trying to tie themselves down financially or long-term, not expend a bunch of financial assets on players who they're not 100% confident in, which I think is the right way to go about this. I know people are going to say that's, throwing away a year of Cole and Judge. And, there is an argument to be made that you are taking a considerable risk with the core you have. But I also think it's fair to say that the Yankees imported players who should be productive for them in 2025. And that if you want to improve your team, the deadline is a huge part of that. Imagine if the 2024 Yankees didn't have Jazz Chisholm. I'm not entirely sure they win that American League East. Imagine if the Yankees, didn't acquire someone like Tim Hill off of scraps or from waivers. I mean, Tim Hill ended up being one of the most important pitchers on the team. Imagine if Luis Seal didn't make the team out of camp. How would that team have looked in the first half? What if Will Warren won that spot? What if Luke Weaver won that spot and Weaver never becomes a reliever? So, there are so many questions to ask, Alex, regarding your roster construction, how you utilize guys, the type of talent you bring in, and also, and more importantly, player development. This is a big year for James Rousey, who last year, I think, did a lot of really good things. Austin Wells had a second half improvement as a result of some minor mechanical changes and an emphasis on getting the ball to right field. Jazz Chisholm had an excellent run with the Yankees, and he cited, trying to pull the ball more with James Rousey. Jazz Chisholm saw an improvement in his zone contact rates. He saw a decrease in his chase rates, and of course saw a massive uptick in his game power. That can be accredited to James Rousey and the work he did with Chisholm. You obviously have Soto. He had a phenomenal year in 2024. I know that he's gone and that people don't really want to talk about him, but he really dominated with the Yankees in 2024. And he was awesome. He was much better than he was with San Diego. His ability to make contact, was there, but his ability to do damage on contact improved. The Yankees did a lot of really good work with a lot of players on this team. Judge, took another step forward. And that was his first year with James Rousey, who he, wrote raves about. We've talked about Jorge Polanco. If the Yankees sign Jorge Polanco, that is a player who has familiarity with James Rousey. We talked about how good James Rousey could be for young players. How good can he be for some of these veterans on the team? If he can get Jazz to click, he got Jazz to click and pull the ball in the air more. Is that something he can get Cody Bellinger doing? Is that something he can get, Jason Dominguez to do? Is that something he can get Austin Wells to continue to do? Can he keep Jazz Chisholm red hot? Can he, look at what Giancarlo Stanton was able to do. Was Giancarlo Stanton perhaps a little more comfortable under, the guide of someone like James Rousey, who has some baseball experience at the professional level? Granted, it was low-level minor leagues, but still pro experience. Someone who's been with the Yankee organization. Someone who has garnered the respect of a lot of players. We talk about Matt Blake as this wizard. When the Yankees bring in a pitcher, Alex, you and I kind of assume that pitcher's going to take steps forward because Matt Blake and Sam Breed are that good at their jobs. Is that the reputation that James Rousey's going to develop? Can he develop that reputation? That's going to depend on how this offense looks this upcoming season. Ben Rice is a big part of that. Paul Goldschmidt's part of that. Cody Bellinger's part of that. The retained guys, how do they progress in 2025? If this offense is good next year, we're going to be talking about James Rousey in a similar breath to how we talk about Matt Blake. And we talk about Ben Rice and guys like this because, as you mentioned, it keeps guys cheap, and then you can go out and get superstar players. The reason the Yankees can pay Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, all these guys and not really think about it is because their entire bullpen is incredibly cheap. Their rest of the rotation is full by a pre-arbitration guy and a guy in his second year of arbitration. Like, the Yankees have invested a lot in their starting rotation, and it really doesn't hamper them that much because these guys are either A, worthwhile investments, or B, the Yankees are so cheap on the pitching side of the ball everywhere else, it allows them to do that. On the position player side of the ball, you want to have that as well. You want to have a Ben Rice who can develop into a quality major league ball player. You want to have Austin Wells maintain being one of the 10 best catchers in baseball. You want Volpe to take another step forward and maybe enter that top 10 conversation as a shortstop. You want Jason Dominguez to be a top 10 left fielder because all those things start happening, and now you can say, all right, Rice plays first, cheap at first, Dominguez maybe slides over to center field. You can put him there. If a guy like Spencer Jones can click, that's another young player. That's not going to cost you a lot of money. If you have an infielder come up, like you want to have some of these guys take steps forward and be young, controllable talent, because then you can go out and say, all right, let's go pay Kyle Tucker. Let's go pay, let's go pay. I don't think he's coming over here, but like, for example, just because he's expensive or he's going to be expensive, like a Vlad Guerrero Jr., someone of that ilk, where like they're expensive, but you can bring them in and you can pay them. That's the whole point of having a roster with young, controllable players. It does fall a lot on James Rousey, and if this offense takes a step back, I think James Rousey is going to be out of a job at the end of the year. So this is a big year for him. This is the James Rousey year, for being honest. This is the most important year probably of James Rousey's professional career, because if he clicks this year, when you're the hitting coach of the New York Yankees and you're good at your job, whether it's staying with the organization long term or getting, lucrative offers to go
job. Yeah.
Right. Like, this is a huge year for him, and I think that's my takeaway. This is a big year for James Rousey. Because if it's a big year for because if he's as good at his job as he can be, or as he displayed last year, a lot of these young players like Ben Rice are going to take steps forward. And we're going to be talking about a Yankee team that can click and hit. And we go, Juan Soto, who? Like, could you imagine this offense? Not that they're going to be as good as last year, but let's say they have a 115 WRC plus as a team. James Rousen's going to be looked at. Like, James Rousen should get an extension at that point in time. Like, that's the question. Like, it really, and you can start, if you, let's say you brought in a Jorge Polanco and he hit, and he came back and he clicked, and he had like a 115 WRC plus, or if Paul Goldschmidt has a 115 WRC plus, I'm going to be sitting back and saying, James Rousen, he's a dude. Just saying. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, obviously Juan Soto in a contract year, I'm not going to give James Rousen a lot of credit for what Juan Soto did last season, but what I will give him credit for is what he did with Gleyber Torres. That was one of the best examples that we could display of a hitter that was in the funk. Like Gleyber, first half Gleyber was a detriment to this team. What James Rousen did by transitioning him away from the power and more to punching the ball into the outfield, line drives, you know, just putting him at the top of the lineup. Whatever that tweak was, that adjustment, was tremendous. And I thought that was a really good indication of like just good coaching, good process, good practice. So, you know, we saw a lot of interesting kind of tweaks that the Yankees made. I mean, of course, Volpe, he was a little bit better, but not really. You know, we'd love to see a little bit more play discipline. Volpe in the playoffs was a different player, right? Stanton in the playoffs was a different player. If Volpe could do what he did in the playoffs during the regular season, he's going to be a really solid player offensively. It's just, you know, low OBPs right now. You're not seeing the power translate because he was selling out for power as a rookie. Last year, he was a little bit more contact-based and a little bit more patient, but not selling out for power. You saw like, his difference in just the batting stance and how he was swinging. Rookie season, his head was swinging like crazy because he was trying to generate all that power and he was striking out a lot because of it. Last year, he was a lot more balanced and based, kind of like a little bit like Aaron Judge, where his head is in the same place. He just wasn't really generating the power, and he still was struggling with some play discipline stuff. So I think that this upcoming season might be the year where Volpe starts to put it all together, which would be awesome. I know the guy works hard, that's for sure. So, you know, we know his work ethic, but, you know, looking at what James Rousen can do for this team, guys like Ben Rice, that development, and you know, I think it's going to be great for him to watch Paul Goldschmidt, because Paul Goldschmidt, like his reaction, his discipline is very solid, right? Obviously, last year wasn't the best. He had 100 WRC plus, meaning he was an average hitter, and his strikeout rate did balloon to 26.5%. But a change of scenery could turn back the clock a bit. I think he could still be a 260 average guy, 35% OBP hitter. Like, look, I think age does take its toll at some point, but the regression that we saw from him last year, I don't like his bat speed, like none of the underlying metrics. I mean, Ryan, you can speak to this. Was there anything that you saw in Paul Goldschmidt's game that was like, yeah, this is a major red flag? Or was it like, okay, maybe he just needs to change the scenery or something was going on?
I mean, it really was the contact rates. That's my big red flag there. And I think that's a very valid red flag to clarify. And that's why I held and still hold the opinion of Paul Goldschmidt, which is this is a massive risk, and the Yankees are taking a risk here, and he is by no means a stable or certain thing at first base. But, you know, again, the thing that I think could be a remedy here is you have that right field. Goldschmidt, especially on high velo pitches, there were a lot of balls that would have gotten out at Yankee Stadium that he hit against like 100 mile per hour fastballs or 95 plus mile per hour fastballs that, you know, it's going to go down as an out and like, he can't handle high velocity. But maybe at Yankee Stadium, you know, these high velo pitches he's getting beat on, maybe those kinds of pitches can, you know, you can just kind of wait on them and shoot them out to right field, and, you know, cut down a little bit on those swings and misses. But again, it's can James Rousen get these guys to do what they got to do, right? And you're right. You know, I'm not saying that like James Rousen's why Soto had the big year, but that he is just a guy who got better last year. And, you know, we're talking about like a Matt Blake, for example. You know, when a guy gets better, we just kind of lump him under the Matt Blake thing. If James Rousen and if the offense this year is very good, and this is also important for young players, of course, Ben Rice, Jason Minguez, all that stuff. If this offense is good this year, we're going to start going, maybe he did have that effect. Maybe he was that good. Maybe he is the reason why. And again, you have a guy where like you can start bringing in position players and say, you know, you can pitch this to guys looking for 1-year deals. You know why Teoscar Hernandez went to the Dodgers? Because if there's anywhere you want to rebound your value, it's with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And they got a great player out of him in 2024. And now he's with them again, and he took a pay cut to stay there. That's how you get guys to stay with one organization for a very long time. Another thing, too, It's how you make these phenomenal pitches when a guy like Rookie Sasaki becomes available or when other star players become available. You want to have more than just dollars attached to your pitch. That's a fact. You just want to have more than dollars attached because if it comes down to a tie or if it's close enough, you want to be you want to be the organization that gets a tiebreaker for being as good as you are at player development. I think the Braves get a lot of pay cuts because of their ability to develop players. I think the Dodgers get players like Teoscar Hernandez to leave money on the table because of that. Why do you think Yoshinobu Yamamoto didn't go back to the Mets with another offer? Was it because the Mets weren't going to up their offer from 325? If you gave Steve Cohen you give me 350 and you get Yamamoto, I think he would have gone there. He didn't go back to them because the Dodgers are better at pitching development, guys. They're so good at it that why would you want to play anywhere else? Yamamoto wanted the Dodgers. You want these guys to want the Yankees, and wanting the Yankees isn't about what they did in 1996 and 1998 and 1999 and 2000. Derek Jeter's been retired for 10 years. Mariano Rivera's been retired for 11 years. Jorge Posado's been retired for 12 years. My little brothers are 14. They're in high school. They've seen 2 years or 1 year of the core four. I just want to give you guys that context. There are kids in high school. My little brothers have never been alive for a World Series ring for the Yankees. There are high schoolers, guys, who have never seen the Yankees win a World Series title. What will separate you from the bunch is having good player development. And when you have good player development, do you know what comes with that? World Series titles. So again, it's a huge, when we talk about Ben Rice and young players and player development and getting cost controlled talent, I think a huge part of it is going to come down to, do the Yankees have the people in place to do that? I think James Rowson is the kind of communicator, personality. Like, I've heard a lot of good about him as a person and him as a communicator. The question is whether, that is going to click. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I heard a lot more about his positive communication skills, that, were kind of in contrast to what the Yankees had prior. Dylan Lawson, I thought, was a brilliant mind and is a brilliant mind. That's why he immediately got a job with the Red Sox, and the Red Sox minor league organizations have done extremely well. But perhaps the Yankees as players didn't click with him. That's totally on the table. But Rouson's able to kind of convey analytical philosophies in a way that players seem to buy into. Can he continue doing that? Was it a one-off thing? Was this big offensive year he had last year, like with Lawson his first year, was it just an offshoot? Was it just a one-and-done thing? Is it going to immediately dissipate in year two? We'll have to wait and see. But Ben Rice, can he take that step forward? I think, again, it comes down to, do you have the people in place to do that? Because at some point in time, Alex, at some point, you have to have minor league guys produce, and they have to be big leaguers, and they have to be reliable big leaguers, and it can't just be enough to have a couple of good ones. At some point, you need to have a stud. Come through your system, because Judge is not going to be a stud forever. So,
Yep.
Rouson's a big part of that. I do think that he is. I just do. I think that he's the big variable in this Ben Rice and just any young player conversation right now. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a defining moment for the Yankees where a couple of these young guys graduate to another level. They take big steps forward, and I wonder if Ben Rice starts in AAA. I wonder if he ends up on the Major League roster. I think that depends on. I mean, if DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera on the roster, is Ben Rice going to have a roster spot? These are things that we ask ourselves. I mean, he could be your backup catcher theoretically as well.
I would cut DJ LeMahieu to have Ben Rice in the Major League team.
I would as well, but
I don't think DJ LeMahieu is very useful for the team. And also put this out here, and I'm going to read out his projections. Ben Rice is projected by Steamer, 226 average is low, 316 OBP is low, but a 200 isolated power and a 111 WRC plus. He's projected to be to really bop, to hit the ball really hard and hit quite a few home runs.
Yep.
If he plays to his projections, not to his ceiling, his projections, he should hit 20 home runs and have a 111 WRC plus. And for a league minimum, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it, man. And that means if that's your median outcome, that's a percent. I think that's 1 point lower than Jason Dominguez's projected WRC plus. And Jason Dominguez is a pretty high ceiling. I think Rice is a pretty high offensive ceiling. I'm going to put this out here right now. I think that the New York Yankees can turn Ben Rice into a 125 to 130 WRC plus hitter. When you look at what makes you an elite hitter, or a really good hitter, you need to have really good power, really good. You need to have good enough bat to ball skills and really good plate discipline. Rice has all three of those things. I think he can be that guy. I'm not saying it's going to be this year, but I think he can be. And I think the Yankees should at least be willing to explore what how to unlock that upside, because I do think he has it. I do think he does. He dominated through every level of pro ball. He has so many desirable and protectable traits. And could you imagine if Dominguez and Rice both pop and you've got, a 22-year-old center fielder, left fielder, wherever he plays, putting up like a 112, 115, maybe a 120 WRC plus. And you've got like a cheap first base / DH / catcher, whatever you want to label him, putting up a 115 to 120 WRC plus. Your lineup, right? Like
sick.
You got a pretty sick lineup. Yeah. And it's,
Scorching.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens. I think this is a really defining year for the Yankees, and at the very least, I don't need to say the least, maybe the best case scenario is Ben Rice takes big steps forward, Volpe takes steps forward, like these young guys, Jason takes big steps forward, cements their role, and the Yankees have had a lot of success with their young players. I mean, Austin Wells is the latest example of that. So I think you have a lot of young pre-arbitration guys or arbitration guys. You can afford to go spend big on Kyle Tucker, or I know some people will throw in Vladimir Guerrero into the mix as well, but I don't think he's ever coming here. I do think you have the money to be very proactive next year. So we'll see what happens. I think Bellinger could have a really big season for us. I think that there's no better park for him to play. I'm pretty excited to see how this Yankee team kind of comes together. We're still missing that one infield bat, but let's see what Sasaki's decision is, and then we'll kind of get there. Any last words there?
Yeah, the last word I really have here is that I think the takeaway here is the Yankees have talent on the position player side of the ball. It's a question of whether they can optimize that talent or not. They have enough talent where they should be a good offense, but we've seen them have enough talent to be good and, have a good offense and not do that. 2021 and 2023 kind of stand out fresh in my mind as years where like they had the talent to hit and they didn't really hit that year. They have the talent to hit. Like 2023, they had Stan on that team. He was underperforming, and he was a big part of our playoff run this past year. Guys, you have an offense this year that's talented. Can you turn talent into production, right? Because again, I'm going to draw an NFL comparison here. How many guys like, oh wow, he ran a sub 4 in the 6-yard. He's so fast, he's so talented. He did how many reps at the lift or the bench press? He's so talented. He's a freak. He's freakishly talented. He's no good, right? Talent, he has to become production. Can the Yankees convert talent to production? I'm sorry, they're going to have to answer with results this year. It's not going to be enough of like anecdotes, good things, hearing good things, a random guy in AA pops off. No. Major league teams got to hit. You've got talent. Got to convert talent to results, or guys got to lose jobs. That's what's It's New York, man. It's a simple equation.
I wish the Giants took your advice, but we'll see what happens this upcoming season, guys. I'm happy to give you guys a little breakdown of Ben Rice, Paul Goldschmidt, kind of dive into the entire element of hitting and why we think James Rousing and really why we think these young players are going to be the focal point catalyst for this upcoming season, especially their improvement. So really excited for the upcoming year. Still moves left to be made. We got you guys covered, and the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes is coming to a close here in the next couple of days. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to drop your comments down below in the YouTube comment section. Make sure to drop a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.